Stop right where you are, because what I'm about to reveal to you in the next 30 minutes is going to shatter every insecurity you've been carrying about whether you're really winning this invisible war. Exactly 48 hours ago, something happened that your enemies never imagined possible. One of them publicly collapsed. This wasn't common emotional breakdown. This was complete disintegration of someone who 3 months ago was absolutely convinced they had you under total control. And when they were asked what happened, their exact words were devastating. That person already won, and they don't even know it yet. That person is you, and they just discovered something that's going to paralyze you when you fully understand it. Because it turns out that while you spent nights questioning whether you're really making progress, whether your efforts matter, whether you'll ever get out of where you are, they were in secret meetings obsessively analyzing your every move. Not because you're a future threat, but because they already lost and are only now comprehending the magnitude of their defeat. There's a brutal difference between thinking you're in a balanced battle versus discovering that the war already ended months ago and you won without consciously firing a single shot. And that difference just physically manifested in the lives of those who swore to destroy you. Subscribe to this channel right now and hit the notification bell, because what I'm about to reveal about how you defeated enemies without even consciously trying is being systematically blocked so that chosen ones like you don't discover the real level of power you already possess. Stay until the very last second of this video, because I'm going to show you exactly what they tried to do to you, why it failed so spectacularly, when their collapse began, and how to accelerate your ascent now that the main obstacles have already been removed without you even noticing. Write 777 in the comments if lately you've noticed that people who used to attack you are now strangely silent or mysteriously collapsing, and you're ready to understand why. We go back 11 months, specific day where 3 of your main enemies met to design your systematic destruction. I'm not talking about obvious enemies who fight you openly. I'm talking about the dangerous ones. The ones who smile to your face while stabbing knives in your back. The ones who say they support you while secretly sabotaging every opportunity you try to take. They met specifically because something had deeply alarmed them. They noticed you were beginning to awaken, not spiritually in a vague sense, but practically. You were starting to make decisions you didn't make before, setting boundaries you didn't set before, rejecting manipulations you used to accept, and that was a huge problem for their plans. Why? Because the complete system they had built around you depended on your unconsciousness. It depended on you believing false narratives about your worth. It depended on you accepting inferior positions you never deserved. It depended on keeping you doubting yourself while they benefited from your work, energy, and talent without recognizing you appropriately. The first to speak was someone who presents as a mentor but operates as a parasite. Someone who for years made you believe they were helping you when in reality, they only used you as a ladder. Their exact words were, "If they wake up completely, we're going to lose access. We need to control the narrative before they discover how much they're really worth." Control the narrative. Translation: they needed to keep you believing you were less capable than reality, so you'd never try to fly solo and discover you don't need them at all. The second was from the professional circle. Someone directly benefiting from underestimating you. They said, "The problem is they're starting to question things. They're asking questions they didn't ask before. If this continues, they're going to discover that many things we told them were impossible are totally achievable." See what was happening? They deliberately lied to you about what's possible to keep you in a box where they could control you. They told you goals were unreachable not because they were, but because if you reached them, their invented superiority would be exposed as fraud. And the third was more direct, showing exactly how they think about you. We need to constantly remind them of their past failures. Every time they try something new, we bring up experiences where they failed before. We keep the doubt alive so they never attempt something big, where they could really succeed without us. Calculated psychological strategy. Use your own past as a prison. Make sure that every time you felt the impulse to grow, memories of failures paralyzed you before you even began. They designed a specific 6-phase plan to keep you controlled. Phase 1, subtle isolation from people who really supported you. Phase 2, introduction of negative voices disguised as realism. Phase 3, covert sabotage of emerging opportunities. Phase 4, amplification of insecurities every time you showed confidence. Phase 5, positioning themselves as the only saviors when you created crises they themselves provoked. And Phase 6, maintain the cycle indefinitely while draining value from you. It was a meticulous plan. They had invested months designing it. They were absolutely convinced it would work perfectly. After all, it had worked on other people before. Why wouldn't it work on you? They sealed a pact that night. They mutually promised to execute the plan without deviations. And they left that meeting completely confident that within 6 months, they'd have your self-esteem so destroyed you'd never try to escape their control. But they made a mistake that would destroy their entire scheme. A mistake so fundamental it guaranteed their inevitable failure. The mistake was this. They assumed you were a common person operating only with limited human resources. They didn't know that moments before they designed that plan against you, you had done something that would change the entire game board. Not consciously, not strategically, but from a frequency of genuine desperation that activates protections that calculated strategies never reach. 3 weeks before that meeting of theirs, you had reached a breaking point. You were so tired of fighting alone, so exhausted from feeling like the universe was conspiring against you, so drained from giving so much and receiving so little recognition that you did something you rarely do. You asked for help, not from people, from something bigger. It wasn't a formal religious prayer. It was a cry of the soul, something like, I can't do this alone anymore. If there really is something bigger than me out there, I need help now, because if I don't get it, I'm going to collapse. And the universe heard, higher dimensions heard, forces that monitor specific souls destined for specific missions heard, and they activated a protocol that's only implemented when a chosen one reaches a critical point where intervention becomes necessary for destiny to be fulfilled. They assigned a complete team of beings working in invisible dimensions to ensure that attacks against you would not only fail, but would reverse against the attackers. Not because you're especially holy, not because you never make mistakes, but because your soul's frequency carries a specific signature that indicates this person has important work to fulfill and must be protected until they complete it. So when your 3 enemies designed their 6-phase plan to destroy you, unknowingly they were writing a 6-phase plan for self-destruction, because every attack they launched would be intercepted, neutralized, and reflected multiplied directly back at them. And the most sarcastic thing about all this is that they signed a pact promising to execute the plan without deviations. They literally committed themselves mutually to follow a course of action that guaranteed their own collapse. They voluntarily tied themselves to a suicidal strategy without knowing it was suicidal. But even more devastating, they received warnings, not obvious ones, but they definitely received signs that they were playing with fire they didn't understand. The first had a vivid dream 3 nights after the pact, a dream where they saw the complete plan exploding in their face. They woke up sweating, but they interpreted it as common anxiety and ignored it. The second received advice from someone wise telling them, be careful with that person. There's more there than you see superficially. But they assumed it was a warning about your competitive potential, not about your supernatural protection. And the third had a strange experience, a moment where they felt an invisible presence watching them while planning the next attack against you. They felt a chill running down their spine, but they rationalized it as coincidence and completely ignored the warning. They ignored the signs. They proceeded with the plan, and they activated a sequence of events that now, 11 months later, has them collapsing one by one while you advance without real obstacles. So what exactly happened from invisible dimensions that guaranteed your victory without you even knowing you were being attacked? The first line of defense was what they call synchronicity shield. Every time one of your enemies tried to sabotage an opportunity, an impossible synchronicity occurred, redirecting the opportunity back to you from a completely different angle they couldn't block. There was a specific moment 8 months ago. One of them blocked an important introduction that was going to connect you with an influential person. They made it look like an accident. But 2 weeks later, you met that same influential person in a completely unrelated context. And the connection was 100 times stronger than if it had been through the forced introduction they blocked. They thought they had won by preventing you from meeting someone important. But reality is that protection redirected the encounter toward a moment and context where the connection would be genuine and impossible to sabotage. The second line was consequence amplifier, a mechanism where every attack against you returned magnified to whoever sent it. Not instantly, but in ways so perfectly designed they seemed completely natural. The one who publicly criticized you to damage your reputation experienced 3 months later a public scandal exposing their own flaws. The one who sabotaged your project found their own main project mysteriously collapsing for reasons they couldn't explain. The one who spread false rumors about you had their own credibility destroyed when uncomfortable truths about them came to light. And the most devastating, all these reflections seemed completely natural. It didn't look like supernatural punishment. It just seemed like they were finally facing consequences of years operating without integrity. But the timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The third line was strategic blindness. It made your enemies commit judgment errors they would normally never make. Moments where their natural intelligence completely failed, leading them to self-destructive decisions they thought were brilliant. One decided to attack you publicly at a moment where they thought you had the least support. But protection had orchestrated that exactly that day. Dozens of influential people would see the attack and decide to explicitly support you. Their attack ended up being better publicity than 1,000 PR campaigns. And the fourth line, the most disturbing for them if they knew, forced awakening. A mechanism designed to ensure you reached your real potential no matter how much they tried to keep you asleep. Every time they tried to remind you of past failures to keep you insecure, something inside you responded with renewed determination instead of doubt. Every time they tried to isolate you from good supports, new better connections appeared. Every time they tried to make you question your worth, validating experiences arrived from nowhere. It wasn't that you were especially strong at resisting manipulation. It was that you literally had invisible forces counteracting every move they made against you. For those who want to go deeper, there's exclusive material in the description and pinned comment. So how do you know with absolute certainty that you already won? There are 7 specific signs that confirm victory even though you haven't consciously registered it yet. Sign 1. Unexplainable peace during chaos. 6 months ago, situations that would have emotionally destroyed you now barely affect you. Not because you became insensitive, but because you operate from a frequency where common human drama no longer has real power over your internal state. That's a sign that protection permanently elevated your base vibration. Sign 2. Opportunities manifesting without desperate effort. Remember how you used to intensely struggle for every small advance? Now things arrive with a fluidity that seemed impossible before. Right people appear. Situations align. Resources manifest. Not because you work less, but because the artificial resistance your enemies generated was completely removed. Sign 3. Enemies avoiding you or collapsing. You've noticed that some who constantly attacked you before are now strangely silent. Or worse for them, they're experiencing public collapses. Not because you attacked back, but because protection guarantees that whoever attacks a chosen one under superior custody receives automatic consequences. 4 months ago, one of them lost a position they had held for 15 years. 2 months ago, another experienced devastating financial loss they can't logically explain. And 3 weeks ago, the third had a public emotional breakdown where they admitted feeling completely lost. All while you advance without similar obstacles. Sign 4. Sudden clarity about next steps. Months ago, the future seemed completely nebulous. You didn't know what direction to take. Every decision seemed overwhelming. But lately you feel clarity emerging, not because you suddenly became wise, but because the artificial fog they maintained around you was dissipated, allowing you to see the path that was always there. Sign 5. Influential people actively seeking you out. Remember when you had to beg for attention, when you begged for opportunities. Now people with real resources seek you out, and not just any people, the right people. The ones who can really help versus those who only promise and never deliver. That's not luck. That's protection positioning you strategically. Sign 6. Unshakable confidence emerging. Not arrogance, but deep knowing that you're exactly where you should be, doing exactly what you should do. Doubts that paralyzed you months ago now barely whisper in the background while you move forward with certainty. That's victory frequency manifesting before your conscious mind fully registers it. And sign 7. The most devastating. You've noticed that when you look back at obstacles that seemed insurmountable, they now seem ridiculously small. Mountains became hills. Giants became dwarfs. Not because you minimize what you went through, but because the perspective of someone who already won makes past battles seem insignificant compared to where you are now. If you recognize 5 of these 7 signs in your life, you're not walking toward victory. You already achieved it, and your rational consciousness just needs to update with what your soul already knows. But let's return to your enemies, Because what's happening to them now is so perfectly orchestrated it seems like a script of cosmic justice. The first, who presented as a mentor, began experiencing something devastating 5 months ago. All the people they had used as ladders started waking up simultaneously. Not just you, everyone. And they started comparing notes, discovering they used the same manipulative tactics with everyone, promising genuine support while only extracting value. Their carefully constructed reputation over decades collapsed in 6 weeks. Influential people who used to respect them now actively avoid them. Opportunities they used to get easily now close doors to them. And the most ironic, they're experiencing exactly what they made you feel for years. Isolation, lack of real recognition, feeling of working intensely without receiving what's deserved. But crucial difference, what you experienced strengthened you because you were genuine facing temporary injustice. What they experience is destroying them because they're false facing permanently deserved consequences. The second, from the professional circle, experienced something more subtle but equally devastating. Their supposed superiority over you was based completely on knowledge they jealously guarded, techniques they knew but never shared, connections they had but never facilitated, all to maintain artificial advantage. But 3 months ago, all that secret knowledge suddenly became obsolete. The industry changed in ways nobody anticipated, and it turned out that the skills they guarded so jealously no longer matter. Meanwhile, the skills you naturally developed are exactly what the new era requires. So now they watch terrified as you become indispensable at exactly the moment where they become irrelevant. Justice so perfectly synchronized only supernatural protection could orchestrate it. And the third experienced the most public collapse. 48 hours ago, they had a complete emotional breakdown in front of dozens of people. And when someone asked what was wrong, they started confessing everything. They confessed years of manipulating people. They confessed intentionally sabotaging those they considered threats. They confessed keeping others down to feel superior. They didn't plan to confess. The words just came out uncontrolled, as if something forced them to expose truth they had hidden for years. And among the confessions, they said something specifically about you. They said, "I tried to destroy that person for months, but every attack failed. And now I look and that person is flourishing while I collapse. It's like the universe decided I already lost." The universe didn't decide they lost. They decided to attack someone under superior protection. The universe only executed consequences of that terrible decision. But the most disturbing thing for them isn't just that they're collapsing. It's that they see your ascent accelerating simultaneously. They see that while their lives fall apart, yours aligns perfectly. They see cosmic justice operating in real time, and that's driving them completely crazy. Because if they were collapsing while you were also collapsing, they could rationalize it as general economic circumstances. But they're collapsing specifically while you specifically prosper, and there's no way to ignore the correlation. So obvious question, if you already won, why didn't you feel it? Why did you keep feeling like you were in a balanced battle instead of completed victory? Reason 1. You won the war without fighting obvious battles. Victory didn't come as you expected. There was no dramatic confrontation where you defeated them face to face. There was no cinematic moment where you proclaimed triumph. You won because protection neutralized attacks without you knowing they were being launched. It's like having an invisible bodyguard deflecting bullets before you hear them. You never saw the danger, so you never felt the relief of being saved. But salvation occurred equally. Reason 2. Genuine humility prevents you from recognizing your own worth. This is both strength and weakness. Strength because genuine humility is part of what makes you worthy of superior protection. Weakness because it prevents you from celebrating legitimate victories you should proudly recognize. So even when good things happen, you tend to attribute them to luck or coincidence instead of recognizing that you're a chosen one, operating with backing from forces that guarantee your success while you maintain integrity. Reason 3. Past conditioning taught you to expect suffering. Years where you worked intensely and received little programmed you to believe constant struggle is normal. So when struggle diminishes, your mind interprets it as calm before the next storm, instead of recognizing that the storm ended, and you entered a phase where you harvest without sowing because protection cultivated the field while you slept. Reason 4. Enemies were astute enough to hide attacks. They didn't attack you openly where you could have defended yourself. They attacked in shadows. They sabotaged silently. They blocked discreetly. So you never saw obvious battle occurring, but battle existed, and it was won in your favor without you needing to consciously participate. And reason 5, the deepest. Protective forces intentionally hid victory from ordinary consciousness until the right moment. Why? Because if you had known 6 months ago that you already won, ego might have inflated prematurely. You might have stopped striving. You might have started operating from arrogance instead of continuing to operate from humble integrity. Protection kept you in perception of continuous battle because that perception kept you focused, working, improving. And now that character has been solidified enough that knowing your victory won't corrupt you, information is being released to rational consciousness. This video isn't coincidence. It arrived exactly when you were ready to know truth without being damaged by knowing it. The timing is perfect. Like everything orchestrated by dimensions operating outside linear time. So now that you know you already won, what comes next? First phase. Within the next 30 days, you're going to notice dramatic acceleration in manifestation of opportunities. Things you expected to take years will appear in weeks. Connections you thought impossible will materialize casually. Resources you considered out of reach will arrive with surprising ease. This isn't because you suddenly improved skills. It's because artificial resistance was completely removed. It's like running with 50-kilo weights for years and suddenly someone takes them off. You didn't run faster. Obstacles simply disappeared, allowing natural speed. Second phase. Within the next 90 days, people from the past who belittled you will start coming back. Not all. Only those genuinely sorry for how they treated you. They'll come humbly admitting they underestimated you, asking for real apologies. And here comes important decision. How you respond to those returns defines the next level you'll reach. If you forgive with grace, frequency elevates more. If you hold bitter resentment, you create unnecessary blocks. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing them back into positions where they can harm you again. It means releasing emotional energy you'd spend carrying grudges. Third phase. Within the next 6 months, you'll reach a level of public recognition that validates everything you went through. Not necessarily massive fame, but appropriate recognition within the sphere that matters. People who matter in your field will know your name. They'll respect your work. They'll seek your opinion. And nobody will be able to say you didn't deserve it because everyone will see obvious evidence of your worth. Fourth phase. Within the next year, you'll be in a position where you can help others going through exactly what you went through. And when you help from genuine experience having overcome real obstacles, the impact is 100 times more powerful than when someone gives theoretical advice from an ivory tower. Your real mission is just beginning. Protection didn't just ensure your victory for personal benefit. It ensured your victory because the work you came to do requires you to be in a position of authority earned through real battles won. And fifth phase, within 18 months, you'll look back retrospectively and understand perfectly why every past rejection was protection. Why every closed door led to a better door. Why every person who abandoned you freed space for real tribe. You'll see perfect design that was invisible while you were living it. But all this comes with a condition. You must maintain exactly what brought you here. Genuine humility, unshakable integrity, compassion for others struggling. If growing success makes you arrogant, blocks will reappear. If recognition corrupts you, protection will diminish. If power makes you cruel, you'll reverse gains. But if you keep a genuine heart while capacities expand, there's no limit to what you'll reach. So are there ways to accelerate manifestation of victory that was already won in invisible dimensions? Strategy 1. Specific daily gratitude. Not vague gratitude for good things, but precise gratitude for specific moments where protection operated. Thank the synchronicity that saved an opportunity. Thank the moment where an enemy mysteriously failed. Thank the clarity that emerged when you needed a decision. When you recognize protection specifically, you consciously authorize it to operate more powerfully. Strategy 2. Release victim narrative completely. While you keep telling yourself a story of unjustly treated person needing vindication, you maintain victim identity active. Change the narrative to temporarily tested chosen one who already overcame. The words you use to describe past experience program the frequency that determines future. Strategy 3. Act from victory before external evidence confirms it. Make decisions as a successful person would make. Speak as a recognized person would speak. Move as a victorious person would move. Not from false arrogance, but from deep knowing that the outcome is already assured and only manifests in correct time. Strategy 4. Actively help others in the position where you were. When you generously share from the little or much you have, you activate universal law of reciprocity that guarantees you'll receive multiplied. Don't help expecting direct return. Help because it's who you are. But know that helping from genuine integrity always returns magnified. Strategy 5. Eliminate draining relationships without guilt. Some people in life are only there consuming energy you need for the next phase. Not all relationships deserve to be saved. If someone consistently drains without ever contributing, permission to let go without elaborate explanation. Protection can't work fully while you voluntarily allow energy vampires access. And strategy 6. Celebrate small victories immediately. Every time something goes well, no matter how small it seems, recognize it as evidence of protection operating. This trains your mind to see patterns of divine support instead of only noticing when things go wrong. And what you focus on expands. And now we arrive at the most satisfying part for ego, but most important for spiritual understanding: the complete reversal of the game. Remember the meeting 11 months ago where 3 enemies designed a 6-phase plan to destroy you, each phase specifically calculated to keep you controlled: isolation, manipulation, sabotage, amplification of insecurities, positioning as saviors, maintaining cycle indefinitely. Now look at what really happened phase by phase. Phase 1 tried to isolate you from real supports. Result: you were introduced to genuine tribe 100 times more powerful than the false circle you had. Temporary isolation was necessary, cleaning, removing toxic people to make space for real allies. Phase 2 tried to introduce negative voices disguised as realism. Result: you developed discernment so sharp you now detect falseness instantly. Manipulation attempts trained you in people reading that makes you practically immune to deception. Phase 3 tried to sabotage emerging opportunities. Result: every sabotaged opportunity was redirected toward a better version they couldn't touch. Sabotage tired them out while you received continuous upgrades. Phase 4 tried to amplify insecurities. Result: you were forced to face shadows so directly you emerged with unshakable confidence. Psychological attacks strengthened you instead of weakening you. Phase 5 tried to position themselves as saviors. Result: you learned genuine self-sufficiency that made their helps completely unnecessary. You no longer need external saviors because you reconnected with real internal power. And Phase 6 tried to maintain cycle indefinitely. Result: cycle broke completely. Superior protection cut the cords. And now you're free operating without interference while they collapse under the weight of their own concentrated negativity. So the 6-phase plan to destroy you became a 6-phase plan to elevate you. Every attack transformed into blessing in disguise. Every obstacle converted into springboard. Every attempt to weaken you strengthening spiritual muscles that now make you unstoppable. And the most devastating for them, they spent energy, time, resources executing a plan that destroyed them while elevating you. They literally built their own ruin while thinking they were building yours. That, chosen one, is perfect cosmic reversal. That's divine justice operating with precision that human strategy could never equal. That's what happens when someone tries to harm a chosen one under custody of forces that don't play human games. Chosen one, now you know the devastating truth that changes everything. While you spent nights questioning whether you were really advancing, whether efforts mattered, whether you'd ever get out of where you were, the invisible war had already been won. Enemies who thought they controlled you had already lost without knowing. Superior protection had already guaranteed your victory before ordinary consciousness registered that battle existed. And now you see what higher dimensions saw months ago. Your enemies never had real control. They had illusion of control while forces working in your favor allowed them to feel that illusion temporarily. But when the right time came, illusion was brutally destroyed. And they discovered devastatingly that they were never players of the game. They were pieces being moved by a player they never saw. And that invisible player now reveals to you, you already won. Victory doesn't come in distant future. It already exists in present being gradually revealed to consciousness that's finally ready to receive it without being corrupted by it. If this revelation touched something deep that confirms what your soul already knew but your mind doubted, it's time to consciously accelerate what invisible protection already guaranteed. It's time to walk as the victor you are. instead of continuing to operate from identity of fighter barely surviving. For those who made it this far and want to deepen this knowledge about how to maximize divine protection and accelerate manifestation of destined victories, there's specific material that costs less than a pizza and comes with complete audiobook and 5-minute meditation guide as special bonus. If you feel you deserve to accelerate the ascent that protection already guaranteed, access is available in the description link and pinned comment. If you recognize that enemies who thought they controlled you already lost and you already won, write 777 in the comments to amplify victory frequency and accelerate physical manifestation of triumph that invisible dimensions already confirmed. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications to receive more revelations about how invisible wars are won in dimensions that ordinary consciousness doesn't directly perceive, but physical life inevitably confirms. Share this video with someone who's also winning battles without knowing, because chosen ones need to simultaneously awaken to already won victories so collective transformation can complete. And before you leave, click on the video appearing on your screen right now to discover the specific signs that divine protection operates actively in your life, guaranteeing success that enemies will never be able to prevent. Together, we are stronger.